Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first winter season episode. This season, we're going to be having some fun and cover topics we've been waiting to discuss. On this one, we're diving into who the driver academies are and how they work with Melissa, Ito, and myself, Chelsea. To start, let's talk about how the driver academies work. The first thing you should know is these academies are usually sponsored by a Formula One team. Their programs are created to help find young drivers that have potential to rise to professional motorsports like Formula One or other organizations that revolve around racing. It's how they can confirm they're getting the best drivers, and what they do is mold them from young to the team. So think Charles. Now, there is a selection process that goes into this, of course. We have scouting, same thing as really any sport. They find young drivers at karting events and invite them to come into the academy through tryouts. The tryouts are hard competition. There's trials, tests on skills, strength, their mind. And after that, of course, is recruitment. And here they get an offer to join the driver academy, and this is someone that they usually loved and saw a lot of potential in. Keep in mind there's a lot of money that goes into this. The program then will get their drivers with potential and put them through training. Now, training is really interesting. There's racing opportunities. They get help to join lower formula divisions, so usually three or four. Obviously, once they get better, they'll get promoted, but the training is usually for races, fitness, simulators, mentors, and honestly, of course, just like exposure to the motorsport world and beyond being a viewer or someone from the sidelines. Now, the program does hold regular assessments. So, like, once you get in, you're not just in forever. The drivers have to stay on their A game to kind of keep their spot in the academy. They'll take into account things like their technical skills, their race results if they have them in the lower divisions, adaptability to things, before deciding if they want to continue on with this racer and promote them or not really demote them, but either they'll push them into F2 or F1, or they'll help them kind of pivot into a career within the motorsport world, but outside of racing. Um, Obviously, that only happens if like a racer doesn't reach their expectations. But I think it's honestly, when I was reading that, was a good exit strategy because yes, maybe like they're not going to promote them to race, but at least they get to stay in the world of racing. But there are a lot of academies, and I would love to jump into who they are. And Melissa has our first one.
Now, to start off with the driver academies, we'll start off with the iconic Ferrari Driver Academy founded in 2009. The idea of this organization's driver development program came from Felipe Massa's coaching within the organization while he was being loaned out to Sauber for 3 seasons while still being under contract with said Ferrari. The first recruit to the academy was Jules Bianchi in December 2009, along with Mirko Bortolotti, Daniel Zamperi, and Rafael Maricello in March of 2010. Now, some notable drivers that were part of the academy, like I mentioned, we have Jules, who graduated from the program and moved on to the F1 team Mavrasha before his untimely passing in 2014, followed by Checo Perez, who was in the academy for 2 years before graduating in 2013 when he signed with McLaren. And of course, Charles Leclerc, who started the academy in 2016, and as we all know, he still drives for the Scuderia now. Then we have Mick Schumacher, who was in the academy from 2019 through 2022 and drove for Haas for 2 seasons before graduating from the academy. And we have Ollie Behrman, who started in 2022 and will actually be driving for Haas in the upcoming 2025 season. Next, it's Robert Schwartzman, who was in the academy from 2017 through 2022 as well, and will be racing in IndyCar this upcoming 2025 season. And lastly, we have Arthur Leclerc, who was a part of the academy from 2020 through 2023. And besides doing some test laps with Ferrari, he has also participated in the European Le Mans racing with Panis Racing and won the 4 Hours of Imola this past year. Now, the Driver Academy does have some F1 Academy drivers. We did have Mayo Wang, who drove under the Academy in the 2024 season after the partnership with F1 Academy was announced, and Aurelia Nobles, who is a part of the Academy currently. And some notable former drivers who are current F1 drivers. We have Lance Stroll, who was part of the Academy from 2010 through 2015, and Joe Granu, who participated in, again, the Academy from 2014 to 2018.
But let's move on to Sauber. Because what makes the Sauber Academy special, even though they, at least in F1, tend to be these days more of like a backmarker or slash starter team, is that they have decades of experience and also resources. Obviously, because they're a Ferrari customer team, also often tied to Ferrari. The Academy itself aims to solidify Sauber's identity as a team that fosters talent, which they have already done because, as I said, they were oftentimes a Ferrari pipeline or a pipeline to Ferrari within F1, or also absorbed former Ferrari drivers like Kimi Räikkönen, Felipe Massa, etc. But what is another thing that is special about Sauber is as Sauber transitions into becoming the factory Audi team in 2026, the Academy is expected to play even a bigger part in securing that young top tier talent for the future of the program. And the current drivers are Emma Fabermeyer, who's in karting right now. She just literally joined the team, like end of last year, early this year. And then we have Tim Salim, I butchered that 100%, who joined in 2023.
Now, the next team where I'm going to talk about is Red Bull. I do think Red Bull is probably the most well-known driver academy outside of Ferrari, and I feel like I don't even need to explain why. Do I love Red Bull racing? No. But the program has created too many amazing drivers to deny the work that they do. You know, it was established in 2001. I'm going to mess up his name, but I think it's Dietrich Mateschitz. He's the co-founder of Red Bull. And the program was created at the same time as when Red Bull was sponsoring Sauber. They weren't even an F1 team yet. But the program ended up creating two drivers. It was Christian, I believe, Klein, and Vitantonio Luisi. And they marked basically the team's initial success. Like, because of these two going on into F1, it kind of pushed Red Bull into buying out Jaguar F1, which was in 2004. And that created this perfect pipeline for them that they were able to create Red Bull Academy straight into F1. Then in 2005, they brought their second pipeline team. This was, I believe, Minardi. And obviously, we know them now as the worst name ever, Visa Cash App RB Formula One team. And this is where we get legendary driver Sebastian Vettel in the mix. Now, Red Bull, honestly, they continue to dominate the feeder system, and they still do. They brought out Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, their current pipeline success, Max Verstappen, the recent F1 driver champion. I mean, honestly, you see that their drivers do continue to be successes. And currently, their academy drivers can also be found in Formula Regional, Formula 3, and Formula 2. What's interesting about Red Bull, though, is besides F1 Academy, which they are doing, they also have two other academy teams that are technically Red Bull Junior teams. So they have the Red Bull Junior team, the main one, which it has Oliver from 2023, James Agozi from 2024, Theo McLaughlin from 2024, and Scott Lindblom from 2024. But they also have another academy. It's actually called the Red Bull Ford Academy program. It's an all-female initiative. And there they have Chloe Chambers, Alicia Plamowaski, and Rafaela Ferreira. And I thought that was extremely interesting. It's not really old. They're actually all joining now in 2025, the program. So they really do try to focus on creating the perfect drivers because they want to feed it into their system. And I will say, while their academy has proven to show results again and again, we have to point out that this is one of the toughest to work for. Red Bull is cutthroat. They have the highest expectations from all of their drivers. And I do have to say these drivers will get like unmatched resources compared to any other academy they can go to. The Red Bull junior team has been so successful that I was reading that almost half of the Formula One grid in 2025 is expected to come from the Red Bull junior team. And I feel like out of all the teams we're going to talk about, this one is probably the most prolific just for those reasons.
Now, moving on to the Mercedes junior team that was founded in 2014 by, of course, Mercedes AMG F1 team. Now, some notable graduates and present drivers will start off with Esteban Ocon, who was part of the Academy from 2015 through 2019, who later started his F1 career with Manor in 2016 and will actually be driving with Haas this upcoming 2025 season. Then, of course, we have current driver for the team, the F1 team to be exact, George Russell, who was part of the Academy from 2017 through 2021, and then signed with Williams in 2019 before, of course, joining Mercedes in 2022. Now, the most recent signing, we have Kimi Antonelli, who joined the Academy in 2018, and dare I say, could possibly be the next Max or the next possible Mercedes prodigy, as he has signed with the F1 team for the upcoming season, replacing the iconic Lewis Hamilton. I don't know about you guys, but I am personally very interested to see how he performs with all this hype going on around him. And lastly, we have Dorian Pin, who is the F1 Academy, a driver under Mercedes, and placed in second in their championship standings for the 2024 season.
And let's talk about Williams's Driver Academy, who, as we all know, or maybe if you don't, is a Mercedes customer team. The Williams Academy was actually established somewhat established there, I say, in 2016. And notable graduates include Lance Stroll, Nicholas Latifi, and Logan Sargent, all of whom have advanced to Formula One. The relationship between Mercedes and Williams, as I hinted at, oftentimes went beyond technical collaborations because of engine supplying relationships. And actually, Mercedes placed some of their junior drivers, like George Russell, within Williams to provide them with valuable F1 experience before then promoting them to Mercedes. Additionally, James Vowles was actually the current team principal at Williams, was actually the Mercedes Young Driver Program's head before he transitioned to Williams. So they can't really beat the whole baby Mercedes allegations just yet, even though they're trying really hard to do that, especially with the establishment of their own driver development program. And as of 2025, the current Williams Racing Driver Academy includes the following drivers: Franco Colapinto, who we all know and love. He joined the Academy in 2023 and drove for Williams in F1 in 2024, replacing Logan Sargent. Then we have Zach O'Sullivan. He has been a member since 22. Luke Browning, he joined in April 2023. Jamie Chadwick became actually Williams' second ever Academy driver in 2019, and in 2024, once F1 Academy started partnering with actual F1 teams, she became Leah Block's racing advisor. And Leah Block herself joined in 2023. Then we have some more junior drivers in Alessandro Giusta, butchered that 100%, sorry, who joined in 2024, and Sarah Matsui, who also joined in 2024.
And next, we're going to talk about Alpine Academy. You might have known them as Renault Sport Academy at some point. Technically, this academy started in the 2000s, but they were rebranded in 2021 to Alpine Academy. Now, obviously, like all the other teams, they cover the things we talked about. However, they do have some trouble consistently integrating these graduates into F1. That's mostly what I was reading up on. We do have Oscar, who we all remember had some drama with Alpine when he left to McLaren to start his career. Zhou, who sadly will be leaving Formula One, but did successfully become the first Chinese F1 driver. And Jack Doohan, an F2 driver everyone has come to love, who will be joining F1 in 2025 as an Alpine driver. A successful candidate, I'd say. The problem is, and again, this is what we saw with Oscar, they seem to have a lot of issues with contracts and getting drivers on the grid. When I was looking into it, they seem to blame it on the fact that they only have 2 drivers on the grid, in the sense that like they only have 2 cars, which is valid. But also, there was just questions about Alpine's management of junior talent in the media. And after reading about it, I kind of agree. So this academy, small, interesting, maybe not one of the best from what I was reading. Who knows? What do I know, right?
At least Alpine brings some good entertainment onto the grid when nothing's going on. We have to give them that. Now, going on to the McLaren Driver Development Program, previously known as the McLaren Young Driver Program. This was founded in 1998 with, of course, the intention to offer year-by-year guidance, assistance, and endorsement from the team. Now, from 2019 through 2021, no drivers were a part of the program, as CEO Zach Brown stated it was due to the team's, quote, very targeted, unquote, approach and already stable F1 lineup. Essentially, it would just be difficult for any young driver to find a place in the sport after graduating, which, gotta give them credit because it is valid, because, you wouldn't want to waste a potential talent's time at the end of the day. However, in April 2023, the program signed its first female driver, Bianca Bustamante, and she represented the team and the program in the F1 Academy for the 2024 season. Now, some notable drivers from the McLaren driver program. We have, of course, Lewis Hamilton. He was part of the program from 1998 through 2006 and later signed with McLaren. And, well, you know the rest about him. Now, we also have Kevin Magnussen, who was part of the program from 2010 through 2013, who later drove with Renault and then at Haas up until 2024. And Lando Norris from 2017 through 2018, who we know is currently on the grid with McLaren and has earned some noteworthy wins for this past season. Alex Albon was also part of the Academy in 2010 before joining the Red Bull family. We also have Nick DeVries from 2010 through 2018, who had a short sprint with AlphaTauri in 2023, but now competes in Formula E. And as for the F1 Academy, McLaren will have Ella Lloyd driving under them for the upcoming 2025 season, replacing Bianca Bustamante.
I, for one, am very excited to see Lloyd driving for them, honestly, in F1 Academy. But let's move on to one of the more, dare I say, obscure driver programs, and that is the Aston Martin Driver Development Programs. And honestly, before this episode, I kind of knew it existed, but I didn't know how big it was because it's huge. It's 30 plus drivers, and it's mostly, dare I say, known for their non-F1 work, such as GP4 and GP3. And they're relatively successful. But as we are a F1 podcast, let's focus on their F1 stuff. Established in 2021, alongside Aston Martin's return to F1, makes sense. It has, dare I say, notable drivers, including Felipe Drugovich, who joined in 2022, was actually their first driver. And then we have Jake Crawford, who joined in 2024. Tina Husman, also 2024. And Jessica Hawkins, who joined in 2023. And if you want to know more about Jessica and her work with Aston Martin, check out our episode on her.
I will say there are a few driver academies I really didn't pay attention to until now. Haas is the one I am talking about right now. They're not really as popular as the ones that we've been mentioning, but it should be mentioned because just like the others, they're looking for sustainable talent for their team. The thing is, they're brand new. The development program just launched in 2020, and we have to keep in mind we see the like behind the scenes. We know Haas doesn't have a lot of financial backing, but the academy is there to support drivers financially, give career guidance, and offer that direct pathway into Formula One via the Haas team, obviously. However, unlike some programs that sign a large pool of drivers, think Ferrari and Red Bull, their development program is much smaller. Apparently, they're trying to use a more focused approach. They're working closely with a few drivers to maximize their development. I did have a little trouble finding the names online. I will have to look deeper into that again. But sometimes it seems that the driver development program actually overlaps with Ferrari. The collab is to help with resources and still give the drivers more opportunities that Haas might not be able to give them alone. So I thought that was actually really, really interesting.
Now, going on to the final academy driver team that we have is the Honda Formula Dream Project program. Founded in 2006, they actually worked together with Red Bull Racing. Now, there wasn't really much on said team, but of course, their most notable driver from their academy is Yuki Tsunoda, who, as we all know and love, has been driving with AlphaTauri, then VCarb, and Racing Bulls. I guess that's going to be their new name now, since 2021.
Okay, wait, I got names. Haas has two drivers. Their names, I apologize for this, I'm definitely saying this wrong. Arjun Maini and Santino Ferrucci. A 20-year-old and a 19-year-old. Who would have thought?
I was just wondering, like, if there's any age limits or anything like that with
Let's look at that.
said academies.
From what I found, at least for Aston Martin, there's...
You have to be at least 14 and a half.
That's across the board.
I guess.
Yeah. But, like, in terms of, like, upper limits, there's
like,
not
no
really a thing. Like, I can't remember which academy it was that I came across this. They have, like, a 30-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Then again, Nick DeVries got the...
There was a 40-year-old racing
Yeah.
a GP3 like a few years ago.
Just shows that's never too late.
Yes. I mean, look at Nick DeVries, for example. He was 28 when he joined Formula One. Granted, for a bigger short stint, but still. He joined Formula One.
I still think he jinxed himself saying that he's not
Yes.
really a rookie.
Yes.
That was such an interesting time.
Very.
I feel like he was the butterfly effect, though, to Red Bull just dropping people.
I mean, they did it before.
Yeah.
After him, they just started dropping people left and right. It went from, oh my god, that's never happened to...
That's true, because, like, yes, they did it in, like, 2018, 2019 with, like, Pierre Gasly, Alex, but now it's, like, a common occurrence.
But
Like,
even from,
a
like...
very common occurrence.
No,
Yeah.
now it's expected.
Yeah, especially with, like, VCarb and everything. Like, Red Bull, I still, like, separate them, but, like, VCarb, again, I love them as Toro, so I will forever just acknowledge them as that. But, like, even then, like, when it's just that team, like, had mentioned, like, ever since it happened with, like, Nick DeVries, like, Danny Rick only drove really for, like, a year because he was knocked out, like, halfway through the season, and then Liam came in, and then it wasn't announced till, like,
Isaac?
I forgot the kid's name, but we have him, and who knows if they're gonna make us? Yeah, and who knows if they're gonna make a switcheroo? You guys know I'm Team Yuki into Red Bull to this day.
I just feel like these driver
But
academies, they better be mentally preparing these kids.
They better have like a sports psychologist because there's a few drivers I personally feel that need a sports psych.
Like Danny is a perfect
Yes.
example. You were their driver academy baby and they still kicked you out.
And you
Exactly.
were successful at Red Bull, and then
Well, for a bit.
kind of, dare I say, screwed yourself by leaving.
I've talked about this in the past with people in the group. I think Daniel just went past his time and going
Yeah,
back to Red Bull was the mistake.
I
I
agree. It's, yeah.
definitely agree.
And there's a lot of drivers that are past their prime. Won't say any names, but I'm just like,
Hmm.
But no, that's something to talk about because like okay, we talk about all these driver academies, lovely, great. But what's the main issue? They have nowhere to go because these drivers, shout out to Alonso, love you, refuse to leave.
it's just like with McLaren when they didn't have like no academy drivers because even Zach Brown was like, there's just no potential for them.
What's the
Yeah,
point?
exactly. And like, I get it. Like, he's not, selling a dream that is very unlikely to come true because, I mean, again, you got Fernando Alonso. We already have like one Haas driver. I mean, he's going to a different type of series, which is like kudos to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just like it just sucks because like I feel like rookies deserve a chance because like we have Jack Tuhan joining Alpine and now apparently like he's only contracted for like 5 races. Rumorville has it, which is like
Yeah.
I think it's like totally like unfair because it's just like I get it if they're not performing then like it is what it is. Then we can have like I mean I'm still kind of surprised Williams kicked Logan to the curb, but we had Franco who did pretty well, and he's not even guaranteed a seat for next season, which it's still. I wish he got a seat for next season, but it is what it is.
The feeder academy is
Mm-hmm.
upsetting. The whole feeder system. Because, like, you look at Yuki being pushed over for Liam Lawson from the feeder tube thing, and it's like you get it in the sense that, okay, fine, you need to give Liam a chance. Why isn't he being fed then into the lower division team, putting Yuki back up? Like, how does your program work if you're keeping this one stagnant?
Exactly.
And it's amazing how much politics is involved too, because my theory is that Liam got put into Red Bull instead of B Carb because Honda is leaving Red Bull. And it's a known fact that Yuki is a Honda kid. So they don't want probably to promote a Honda kid if Honda is leaving their circle, if Honda's going to the competition. That's also probably why they're now Yuki to Aston rumors once Honda joins, but
Which is so interesting because I still think Aston is such a like it's not, but to me it's such a mom and pop team.
yeah.
And you guys know my feelings about that team. Besides Alonso, I know we have some Lance girlies on our crew, but I don't know. He's in
I like the
F1 for.
aesthetic of Lance. Does that make sense? I don't know if he's a good man. I like the aesthetic of Lance. He's a
I
rich
mean, he's
little
probably like
boy
the
who gets to drive
nicest.
Formula One, and it's probably nice.
It's nice, and he's probably like such a nice guy, but he is in my opinion, I think he's been too long in the sport, and someone else should be giving that chance at this point. Like he's just like I don't know. There's just been too many like things where he's like spun out like on the first lap or during like the formation lap, and I'm like, how long have you been in the sport, my dude? Or it's just like little things, but yeah,
No, I mean you're not wrong, and I think it's really interesting because like while we're talking about the driver academies, like there's also just the fact that it's becoming so much more popular to want to be a driver that these programs are being maybe not overfilled because they are very selective, but the audition or the not the audition like the trials are being overfilled. Like there are so many people that want this career, this lifestyle, this job. And again, like I said, Red Bull, I think it's really cool that even if they don't see potential in driving, they try to redirect them into a different outlet. Red Bull has the capabilities to put people in a lot of different places. But I feel like if anything, it's just kind of another reminder that should there be an age limit? Should there be a max time that you can drive in Formula One, like there is with the other like feet, like systems? Because what is the point of limiting Formula Two, and then there's nowhere for them to go because Formula One has no limitations? And yeah, you can lead them again into other races, like how we see people going to WDC and etc. But it's like, again, what's the point of putting me through all this if I have no chance of getting into Formula One because Carlos, Charles, and these people are going to be alive for another 20 years and they want to stay driving? That's the only thing I kind of got upset about when I was looking into all this Formula One Academy. I was like, damn, all these girls and boys want to drive and there's nowhere for them to go.
Yeah. And also, like, if you say were to have like limits on how long a driver can be with an academy, with Formula One, etc., you would have money opened up for younger drivers, for new faces, because as we all know, F1 and the feeder series as well are expensive. And as more kids want to become drivers, it is only going to get more expensive. And people, aka their parents most likely, are probably not going to be able to afford this. Like, for example, we see even now, even historically, we saw so many paid drivers. We saw so many Nepo babies and everything else. Like, I feel like the non Nepo baby drivers that we have now, aka Fernando Alonso and Lewis, pretty much, are gonna go away because it's just too expensive. And the driver academies could be a good way to like get non-nepo babies up there again.
I will say, I wonder if, because again, like we've noticed, there's been more academies kind of coming up over the years, female academies, just Formula One people making more academies like Haas. I wonder if this is also kind of going to push Formula One into adding more teams. I know obviously people are already pissed with like Audi going. I know people are already like mad with I think it's Audi or Cadillac, I can't remember right now, coming in. It's like, okay, you're mad, but what else are you going to do? You have no space for drivers to come on the grid. We're going to keep watching the same people race for 10 years because, again, some people are going to refuse to leave. Some people are like Max, where they're like, I've won enough, I can leave. That's awesome. But that's one driver out of like 24, 20. Anyways, it's like,
Exactly.
so I don't know. I feel like as a young driver, it must be so exhausting sometimes to go to these events and be like, bro, you got to go so I can come in.
And like leave. And like you mentioned, like the F1 Academy, especially, like you have the W Series, but that's not as known. I don't even think like anything was going on with that series this year. I think it was like a year or two ago, like either the 23 or 2022 season. They ended their season like stupid early because of like budget issue, like budgeting, like costs and everything. And it just sucks because like I would like to know more about it, but like half the time, like the academy stuff is like at times where like I can't watch, and I hate seeing replays sometimes. But that's a me problem. Hating to see replays, but like unless if you're there in person to see like everything live, like you miss out on a lot, and like social media can only give you so much, but like there's not as much exposure to the different set series where they can get support, they can get that sponsorship money, that viewership money, and everything. And it's just like it sucks because I want to see that talent come in. Because again, I feel like it's wasted talent, just wasting away, just waiting for the chance that never comes.
I feel like Liam Lawson is a perfect example of that. Like he's been waiting years, and they just kind of keep pushing it. And like, wasn't it Jack Doohan that almost raced too many, like, not being on the F1 team that he couldn't even join anything else or something? I can't remember right now. Like they,
And you got like
yeah,
Felipe Drogovic for like Aston Martin, who's been waiting for like a while.
they have these kids just there wasting away.
I mean, you
Literally.
had Robert Schwartzman too, because how long was he a reserve driver at Ferrari for? Without ever getting to race, not even like as a sub. And then he just up and
Mm-hmm.
left.
And I don't blame him because you have like people like Pato who drives an IndyCar for McLaren. Like, yes, it's still a top team, but even he says so himself. He's like, realistically speaking, like he knew that he wouldn't have a chance in F1 just because one, McLaren already has it two spots filled, and there's just no other spots available. So it's like he had to pick another series where, again, It's not as much exposure. Be cool to, watch it live and everything, but the ovals also just kind of bore me. But that's a me problem once again.
And I mean, even with Cadillac joining in 2026, like we're up to 11 teams, and the FIA rules stipulate a max of 24 cars on the grid at one time. So there would only be space for one additional team, which would be 2 additional seats, yes, but at the same time, is it enough? Like, again, we need age limits, maybe, or something.
I was just saying, I am of the mindset that the FIA makes the rules. If they want to add more teams and make more money, they can. They're choosing not to for whatever reason. I know a lot of it is basically just like, and maybe this isn't right. I think that the reason they don't let more teams come on is because they think it will take away from the exclusivity of being an F1 team, and they will lose money. And I get that because, for an example, as much as I love NASCAR, anyone can get a NASCAR. You can get a beat up car, and there are certain things during the year that you can just put your car up in there, and that's how people get popular or whatever. It's like they fear that if they add more teams, they're gonna end up like NASCAR. No, baby, your tickets are still $1,000. Like, you're still gonna be expensive. If they add more teams, if anything, I think like for the junior teams to actually succeed in what they want to do, which is get new people out there, they maybe not an age restriction. I think if anything, like a championship or year restriction. Like, I don't know, if you win 5-4, you got to get out. Like, why are you winning 7? You're too good. Maybe you got to leave. Sorry, Lewis and Max. But like, you're too good. Why are you here? Let someone else get a chance. Maybe that's bad to say though. That's not. I'm not hating. I love Lewis and Max, but at some points, like I want to see new people try. And
No, exactly. But it's also, again, money. They bring in money.
yeah, it didn't save Checo though.
And a lot of it. I mean,
Yeah, that Disney money didn't
I don't
save
blame
them.
Red Bull for that. It hurt.
I
I
get
don't
it.
blame them.
Yeah, I mean, there is an advantage to Red Bull's whole hire and fire strategy at the drop of a hat. It brings in new drivers. But then at the same time, they don't give them time to develop necessarily.
I think that's the problem. There's like they don't know what the middle is.
And those practice laps that they do during free practice can only do so much.
If they even get a like proper practice, sometimes they don't.
E- Exactly.
Yeah. Especially if it's their first time in F1 car, for example. I mean, how many practice sessions did Isaac do before he got the promotion to V carb? I think like 5 or something. And that's like the sessions we know about. Then they have like testing sessions outside of free practice and stuff like that. It takes forever, at least from what I understand, to get acquainted with an F1 car. Not a lot of people can just sit and go.
But also, let's notice money. Red Bull got money. Red Bull got so much money. Every driver that is like in their academy could have a simulator. Didn't Haas just get one?
Yes. They just recently just got one
Yeah.
because of that Toyota money. Or no, was it? Yeah, Toyota.
Exactly. So I feel like that's another thing. They are at such different
Levels.
levels of what they even have available to them, whether it's mentorship or a simulator. And Sebastian Vettel mentoring you compared to like, no offense, but someone from Alpine that I can't even think of right now, that says a lot about where you're going to go. It really does. As much as like no one really wants to admit it, it does. That's the only thing that sucks. It's a lot about money. At the end of the day, it's politics and money that holds back a lot of drivers from being able to go anywhere. It's not even their skill.
Who can bring in the most money and keep it bringing in?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just about to say, case in point, say Lance Stroll.
Or you got Franco too, who got a lot of like that Argentine and Latin
Yeah.
sponsorship and everything like that. I think even Bizarrap was
Yeah.
like sponsoring him, because I noticed when I started looking at his helmets more, he had Bizarrap's name on his helmet. So I'm like, I wonder if there was something in there that Williams got, because we know Williams also needs that money. So
Yeah. And I mean, didn't like the weekend after Franco got announced, Williams get 2 new South American
yeah,
sponsors?
that's exactly, yeah. So
Plus, everyone loves Franco now, so he better get a seat.
Honestly, I feel like we could talk about the discrepancies of being stuck as the Driver Academy kid right now, but hopefully we get to see more talent on the streets soon. Grid, street race, whatever is available to us, because I feel like there's a lot of it out there and we just haven't even seen it yet.
And while we yapped about the academies, their pros and cons, gave you a deeper insight right now, we still want to highlight a driver of the week, or dare I say, drivers of the week, because this week it's going to be the 2025 rookies. Because these guys too are a product of those academies, such as Kimi with Mercedes, Ollie via Ferrari Driver Academy, Gabriel via McLaren, Isaac by Red Bull, obviously, and then Jack by Alpine, and fun fact, previously Red Bull. So, good luck, boys. You're gonna need it.
good luck indeed. And thanks for joining us in the Paddock. We'll see you next week where we cover the women in F1. In the meantime, let us know what you think of the drivers in the academies on our socials. Everywhere we are Paddock Girls Podcast, except, as you know, on Twitter and Blue Sky. There we are Paddock Girls Pod. Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye!
See ya.